What's up guys, it's Lauren and I am back today for another video to share with you guys my positive labor and delivery experience for baby number 2. I did have an induction at 39 weeks and 1 day and I am just so happy with how everything went. There's only like one little thing that went not perfect and the rest of it was just like absolutely a dream delivery, and I had the absolute best labor and delivery nurse. Like, just everything about it was so wonderful. I am just so happy to be able to share with you guys a positive experience, because the birth of my first daughter was difficult and much more painful, and postpartum recovery was really hard, and this time it's been totally different. So I'm going to tell you all about it. I took notes from when it happened. I didn't end up filming any clips or anything because it's just like, for me, I wanted to be in the moment and focus and just like be present with what was going on. And so I did take notes so I can tell you in detail exactly how everything went down. So I was induced, well, I was given the option to be induced because I am 35 or older. I actually just turned 35 like a couple months before my due date. So I've got my little baby girl here, so hopefully she stays sleeping through this video. But anyway, yeah, because I was 35 or older, I was given the option to be induced because once you are 35, there's more of a risk for the placenta to deteriorate at the end of pregnancy, was the reason I was given of why they like to induce for somebody who's 35 or older. But because I had just turned 35 and I wasn't like, 38, 40, 42 years old, my midwife was comfortable with waiting until 40 weeks, but she didn't want me to go past 40 weeks. So I was on the fence about it, but I ultimately decided to go with the induction. I was feeling just really uncomfortable and ready when I got to 39 weeks, and also because it was my second baby and I was already 3 centimeters dilated, I did feel good about the success of the induction, and so did my midwife. So and baby was very low. She was at like a 0 or -1 station. So I went to the hospital at 39 weeks and 1 day. I checked in at like 6:30 in the morning, and by around 8 a.m. they started Pitocin. So when I went in, I had been having some contractions, but I hadn't really felt them in my belly that much. And then when they put me on the monitor, the nurse told me, she's like, no, you're having somewhat regular contractions, and I wasn't feeling them because they were kind of in my back. So I think my baby was facing the wrong way, like sunny side up, or at least like twisted a little bit, and that's why I was having back labor and didn't realize it was actual contractions. But yes, and then as I started Pitocin and the contractions got worse, I was feeling them very much so in my back. And so we came to the conclusion that she was probably facing the wrong way, and we did a bunch of like different positions for laboring that helped her spin, and she eventually did spin. She was delivered normal, which is face down, not face up. But anyway, so that was going on. I started the Pitocin at 8 a.m. and over the course of the next couple hours, they increased it to 10. I think the highest they go is 20, so it was like about halfway to the most you can go. Every 30 minutes, she would come in and increase it a little bit more until my contractions started getting like very regular every couple minutes. And I didn't have my first like really painful contraction till about like 9 a.m., like about an hour into Pitocin. And then my midwife came in shortly after Pitocin started and said that she wanted to come back and break my water between 11 and 12 a.m. And she suggested that if I wanted to get an epidural, that I do that before then, because real labor doesn't get going until they break your water. And so once your water breaks, sometimes it can get like very painful very quickly. So I was kind of on the fence about that because I didn't want the epidural to like slow down my labor and slow down my dilation, which I don't know if that's even like a really scientifically proven thing, but that's just like something I've heard about. So I was kind of on the fence of what to do, but as it turned out, by the time the anesthesiologist like actually got to me, did the consult, and then I have scoliosis, which means I have a curve in my spine, and so I asked him if he could like do anything to help the epidural work better, because it didn't really work on half my body last time. So he said he could do an ultrasound of my spine, which he did. So by the time all that was done, that was like already getting to be like 11 o'clock, and so I just told him at that point, I'm like, you know what, put me in the queue for like next after, when you come back around to do my epidural, because yeah, I just felt like it was already like taking a while to even get anything started. So when you're ready for the epidural, like ask for it well before you think you're ready, because sometimes it can be like they told me it was going to take 45 minutes to an hour to get it after I asked for it, and it really took more like 2 hours to get it. So ask for it early is what I would suggest. So, oh, and then also, once the Pitocin was like going at a 10, I was getting contractions like 3 on top of each other and then a 5-minute break. And that was another indicator that the nurse said that my baby was facing the wrong way and I was having back labor and stuff. So anyway, 11 o'clock, talked to the anesthesiologist and we ordered the epidural, and then by 12, my contractions were starting to hurt a lot more. And then shortly after 12, my midwife came in. She's like, I have a break. Can I break your water? And so I was like, okay, you know what? That's fine. Just go for it. The epidural should be here soon. So she broke my water at like 12:15. And then around 1 o'clock, I got the epidural. So when she broke my water, I was 4 centimeters. So I dilated 1 more centimeter. And then she broke my water, which doesn't hurt, by the way. It's just like you don't feel anything except for just a gush of water that just like keeps leaking and leaking and leaking. So with the epidural, the other thing besides it not working on half my body last time, it also caused an issue with my blood pressure. My blood pressure kept dropping really low, and there was like one scary moment where they were like, baby's not happy, her heart rate's dropping, and then we like figured it out and they gave me a shot of epinephrine to like speed up both our heart rates, I guess. So the anesthesiologist and my nurse was aware of that this time. So they gave me extra IV fluids before I got my epidural, and also while I was getting IV fluids, I was chugging water. So I have a 50-ounce water bottle. I drank 2 of those in the course of like 4 hours, which was probably like overkill. I didn't realize how much I was drinking. I was just like anxious and like just chugging it here and there. But yeah, I ended up having my blood pressure drop a little bit low a couple times, but not low enough for them to be worried about the heart rates of me or the baby or anything. And yeah, so I think drinking water on top of the IV fluid definitely helped this time, or it just was a different situation. Last time I had gestational diabetes too, and this time I didn't, so my body was doing different things this pregnancy. But luckily there were no scary moments with epidural and my blood pressure. So however, it happened again that my epidural did not work on my whole body, even though we did the ultrasound and tried to place it in the best spot possible with my curve in my spine. I was able to feel a lot on the left side of my body. And at the time that I was starting to feel really painful contractions, most of them were in the top left part of my body because the baby she had turned then, and I was really feeling them like the top upper part of my stomach, and that was one spot where the epidural wasn't working. So I had a moment like an hour or 2 into getting the epidural where I was just like started crying because I'm just like, I don't want to feel this pain. Like I just want to not be in so much pain. And then eventually she turned more, and the contractions were like in the center lower part of my stomach mostly, and so I could still feel them on the part of my body that wasn't numb, but they were not nearly as painful. Like the pain went from like an 8 or a 9 down to like a 3. So that was good. And then the other thing that happened last time is that like when I was pushing and when the baby was coming out, like they say you feel like that ring of fire when the baby's head's like right there going through, if you can feel everything. And I could feel that last time. And this time from like my hips down, I was pretty much numb. Like I couldn't feel, like I could feel pressure but not pain, which was great because pushing was a lot more comfortable. So at this point, okay, so my blood pressure dropped a little bit around 2 o'clock after I had had the epidural for about an hour and it was not working totally. So I had like a little moment, like a little breakdown at that moment, and then it came back around and started working better and my blood pressure stabilized. So I was good. At 3 p.m., my midwife checked me and I was at 6 centimeters, and so I was making progress, and like I said, the pain had moved to the front, so the epidural was working better. So then at 3:45, my nurse moved me around and she noticed there was like a bunch of red blood clots on the towel that I was sitting on, and so she called, another nurse to check on it and my midwife. And so my midwife came by just before 4 o'clock to check and see like, okay, what's this going on? And she went to check me and she's like, oh, there's the baby's head. That's why we're seeing this. It's time to push. And so I, like in that moment, was beyond shocked because to go from 6 centimeters to 10 centimeters, my first delivery took like, I think like 8 or 10 hours, whereas this time it took like 45 minutes. So I couldn't believe that I had just started Pitocin at 8 a.m. and like it wasn't even barely 4 o'clock and I was going to get to push this baby out. Like I just was so relieved. I just started crying and was so happy I was going to get to meet her, and that I was going to get to push her out. I wasn't going to have like some crazy stressful emergency C-section. So it just was a super emotional moment for me at that point. And so earlier in the day, I had been talking to my nurse, and I told her, I was like, last time I pushed for an hour and a half, I had 45 minutes of stitches to repair like the tearing that happened from me pushing, and it was just like 6 months of brutal postpartum recovery. So this time I'm manifesting a better delivery. And she's like, 2 pushes. We're going to do 2 pushes. I'm like, okay, I like where your head's at. Hopefully it's 2 pushes. And she wasn't far off. I pushed like, I think 4 times over the course of 6 minutes, and she was out. And she was not a small baby. She was 9 pounds, 2 ounces. So to push out a baby that large in that many pushes in like barely 5 minutes, I don't know how that miracle happened, but I will take it. And just I still am in disbelief that actually happened, that I went from 6 centimeters to 10 centimeters in like 45 minutes and then pushed her out in just a few pushes. And even though she was 9 pounds, I didn't need any stitches at all. Like, how does that happen that I had probably 100 stitches last time and like 2nd or 3rd degree tearing, and this time my baby was almost a pound bigger and no tearing? So I say that my first daughter paved the way for this one, and I'm just like so grateful that this postpartum recovery has been so much better, because chasing around a toddler and a newborn is a lot more physical than just having a newborn. So if I had to have the deliveries happen in a certain order, I'm glad I got the more difficult one out of the way first, and this one has been much, much easier. So after she was born, right away, we just did skin to skin for an hour. That's something they try to do at my hospital, which I love, and so they just put her right on me, and we did skin to skin, and I nursed her a little bit, and just like got to connect with my new baby, and it was just such an amazing, beautiful, overwhelming moment. And I just am so grateful for the wonderful care team that I had. It worked out perfectly because we checked in, like I said, at like, by the time we got down to labor and delivery, it was like 7 a.m. And the nursing shifts at my hospital go from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. They're 12-hour shifts. So the nurse that I had when I checked in was the nurse who was there my whole labor, and she was able to drop me off in like the postpartum room before she finished her shift. So I just had one nurse the whole labor and delivery, and that was amazing, because not only was it nice to just have one person consistently the whole time, she was so good. She was so sweet, so caring, so attentive, and like really listening to the things I was saying and helping like alleviate all my concerns. She was just excellent, very professional. Just I couldn't have gotten a better nurse. And that's really important, because like that's a person who's going through a really emotional, insane moment with you. So to have somebody you really connect with and feel comfortable with is just invaluable. So I feel so lucky that I had such a great nurse. My midwife is amazing, and she was actually able to deliver my baby. She was getting off of work at 5 o'clock, and she delivered my daughter at 4:04 p.m. So like it just, all of it just worked out exactly how I was hoping, and I couldn't have asked for a better experience. So at the time that I'm filming this, I am almost 3 weeks postpartum. I have taken it easy most of the time. I've tried to like not stand for too long a time. I've only lifted my toddler up a couple times, like when I've had to, but really try not to do any heavy lifting or a lot of housework or anything. Like I'll change a little laundry here or there, but other than that, like I'm really trying to take it easy, and I'm just starting to get into doing more. So I took a walk for the first time yesterday. Actually, I took a 10-minute walk just to see how it felt. And by the end of the 10 minutes, I did feel like a little bit of pulling, where I was like, okay, I feel like I've hit my max of like how long I want to walk, and next time I'll go for 11 minutes or 12 minutes and like slowly ease back into moving more as I continue postpartum recovery. There's a couple other things I want to mention. One is, while it was such a beautiful experience, I will say that, and this happened with my other daughter as well, when my baby was born, I didn't feel emotionally connected to her immediately. It took about 1 to 2 days before I like really like fell in love with her. Like I loved her, and I thought she was really cute, and I was really excited and happy, but I didn't feel like I knew her different from another baby, and that's okay. Like, I think it's, you know, you need to give yourself time to connect with your baby. Your body just went through something incredibly difficult, and you're just meeting someone for the first time. So if it's not something where there's like an immediate emotional connection, like, you shouldn't feel bad about that, because it happened organically, like very shortly thereafter. So I just want to like reassure you guys, if you don't feel like immediately like obsessed in love with your baby, like, it's not something that's wrong with you. It just takes a little bit for your mind to, like, you know, accept the shock of what it just went through, and then to like be able to connect with your baby. And you're so sleep deprived too, it's just like takes a little bit. So I'm totally, completely in love, obsessed with her now, and I feel great about my connection with her. But I just want to mention that because I feel like it's something that's maybe a little taboo to talk about, and I love talking about taboo stuff on my channel, as you guys know. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to say is part of the reason I was having like not trouble connecting with her, but feeling just like super emotional after delivery is because it like snuck up on me faster than I thought. So I wasn't really mentally prepared for it. Like I said, I thought it was gonna be like many more hours till she was born. And this is our last planned pregnancy. And I struggled to get pregnant with our first one for almost 2 years. And this one happened a lot faster, but that infertility experience will always be with me. And so for many, many years of my life, it was focused on trying to get pregnant and being pregnant. And now I am done with that chapter, probably. And I was feeling really, really emotional and sad about that. Like, I'm relieved that I don't have to try to get pregnant anymore, because it was such a difficult like thing in my life for many years. And so many things can go wrong even if you get pregnant easily. So many things can go wrong during pregnancy, or, you know, just whatever. It's tough. Pregnancy and getting pregnant, trying to get pregnant, are tough for everyone, no matter what. It's emotional and draining physically and mentally. So I'm like relieved that's over, but then I'm also like sad about it, like that chapter is closing. And I was having trouble accepting that, because it just felt like I wasn't ready. I felt like as soon as I pushed her out, I'm like, I want another one immediately. And I was like, okay, don't worry about these feelings that you're having. Don't react to them. Just like acknowledge them, validate them, and let some time pass and see how you feel. And now that I'm like 3 weeks out, which is not very far out at all, I'm feeling much better about the fact that like I'm done with that part of my life, that I don't need to worry about getting pregnant. I don't have to go through birth again, and I don't have to go through postpartum recovery or the newborn phase and the sleep deprivation. Like, this is, I'm feeling more closure about ending this chapter and like going into the next phase of life, where it's just like raising my kids and watching them grow and focusing on other things. So I am not like getting rid of my maternity clothes. I'm not getting rid of any of the baby stuff, but I am just feeling better overall about maybe this being the last time. And also, I have talked to my husband about it, and he's very understanding. And I was saying like, you know, this is how I feel. Like, I feel pretty good about it, but like, can we keep the conversation open? Like, do we have to can we maybe wait to make a final decision until like further out? And he was totally receptive to that. And he said, you know, I could go either way. I don't want to see you go through pregnancy and all the difficulty that holds again. And it was hard for him too, because he's supporting me through everything. But he was also open to like keeping the conversation going, where I ultimately think we'll both decide that we're done and we're happy with where our family is. But it was really nice to know that like he was there to support me, and like just knowing we can continue to discuss it. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share that as well, because that's been like a really big thing, you know, kind of closing that chapter of like getting pregnant and having babies is a big deal. And so knowing that there's room for me to have these feelings and talk about them with him has been very, very helpful. He's been just so wonderful, supportive, and doing everything he can to make, you know, my postpartum and like these early newborn days as easy as possible. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this positive induction experience video. If you have any questions about anything I shared, then put it in the comments. I'm happy to tell you guys, you know, any details about my experience with induction. If you have questions or you're considering it for yourself and you're not too sure, I know it's a big decision whether to get induced or not, because there's, you know, different data back and forth about whether it's better for the baby, or you're more likely to have a C-section or less likely to have a C-section, or whatever, depending on what birth plan or birth like preferences you have. But yeah, anyway, Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to see more videos from me, then make sure you hit that red subscribe button, and I will talk to you soon in my next video. Bye.